In 1848, at the age of 18, Heinrich Dangberg left Prussia for a new future in America. He came west around 1853, hoping to strike gold. Having no luck as a miner, he relocated to Carson Valley and in 1857 staked out a homestead and began working his land. To access water from the river, he dug a network of ditches, canals, and reservoirs that are still part of today's irrigation system. He worked hard and was prepared when Virginia City boomed, and after silver was discovered in 1859, prospered from supplying that hungry market. In 1866, he married Margaret Ferris. Maggie's youngest brother, George, is famous as the creator of the original Ferris wheel, built for the 1893 World's Fair. Dangberg weathered the turbulent times and prospered. He also became influential, serving in the state legislature, while he and Maggie also became parents, raising 5 children. Fred, the oldest, went on to raise his family at the home ranch after marrying Gertrude Hieronymus in 1898. An entrepreneur, he had big ideas and led the Dangberg Company into the 20th century. John married and had several children, but no grandchildren. Eva, the only daughter, earned a college degree in music and married a minister, but never had children. George married twice. He was active in ranch management and had 1 son and 1 grandchild. Clarence, the youngest, sold his shares and founded the COD Garage in Minden. With several children and many descendants, his is the only branch of this family continuing into the future. After their father died in 1904, these 5 children inherited half the ranch, now more than 33,000 acres. Their mother inherited the other half, but Maggie left ranch management to her children and soon moved to Berkeley. In 1905, the Dangbergs founded Minden and invited the Virginia and Truckee Railroad to provide train service. They also invested in the creation of a flour mill, wool warehouse, bank, hotel, creamery, and more. Back at the home ranch, Gertrude became a mother. Her 5 children had the best of everything, with no chores and little involvement with ranch work. A son, Dwight, came first. At the age of 5, he died of scarlet fever. Margaret married a cowboy against her family's wishes, and her only child died as an infant. After she and her husband divorced, Margaret returned to the home ranch. Ruth was the first of the sisters to marry. She also divorced and, like Margaret, returned home. Ruth's only child was the last to grow up at the home ranch. Fritzie graduated from college, traveled to Europe, lived in San Francisco, worked at the 1939 Golden Gate International Exposition, and fell in love with a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, but never married. The youngest, Katrina, married twice but never had children. Her second husband was a wealthy California rancher descended from an elite family. In the early years of the 20th century, the Dangbergs earned nice profits as part of an agricultural boom, and the family enjoyed the experiences and things that money buys. But by the Great Depression, the company was struggling due to a heavy debt load, and its shareholders, comprised of several of the founders' children and grandchildren, disagreed about the best path forward. George Dangberg died in 1936, and his shares became the property of the company's attorney, George Sanford, who made an alliance with John Dangberg that left Fred increasingly isolated. Eva's support ended when it became apparent that Fred's gambling debt had placed the company's finances in jeopardy. Fred was not reelected a company officer, lost that pay, and now his family began to struggle even more. In the spring of 1946, Maggie, Fritzie, and then Fred died. Fred's estate owed $100,000 in debt, and after the obligations were settled, Gertrude was left with nothing. Then, a majority of the remaining shareholders tried to evict Gertrude, her daughters, and grandson from the home ranch, always owned by the company. But the eviction was rescinded after calmer minds prevailed. By the end of World War II, the Dangberg Land and Livestock Company was recovering, and it continued to expand under the leadership of John and his daughter Grace. Gertrude died in 1968, leaving Margaret and Ruth living at the home ranch, while Katrina lived in California with her husband. Aunt Eva died in 1973, leaving some of her shares to her 3 nieces. But they were minority shareholders and had little to say when the ranch, now grown to more than 48,000 acres, was sold in 1978. One condition of the sale was a life estate that allowed the Dangberg sisters to continue living at the home ranch. The last of them passed in 1995, and then, also as a condition of the 1978 sale, the home ranch and everything in it was set aside as an historic park. 4 generations of the Dangberg family lived at the home ranch. On their behalf, we thank you for coming to visit.